Here we are in Newport Harbor, a legendary sailing destination with a storied legacy as a venue for America's Cup races and a vibrant sailing community. Myself and my Hodinkee colleagues had a chance to go out on the famed Intrepid, a boat that inspired one of Heuer's most iconic watches, the Skipper. The groundbreaking Intrepid won the America's Cup in 1967 and led to Heuer developing its own watch and releasing it in 1968. That watch, the reference 7754, has gone on to become one of the most recognizable designs in all of watches. What makes the Skipper so inextricably tied to the Intrepid is the use of the color scheme from the deck of that boat. Literal paint chips lifted off the boat were used to match the color on this watch. Fast forward to 2017, when Hodinkee, celebrating roughly 50 years from the time that the Skipper was developed, released its own watch in collaboration with TAG Heuer, called the Heuer Skipper for Hodinkee. This wasn't an exact recreation, but rather a watch embodying the spirit of that original design, cased in a more modern 39mm sizing. It's a watch we were so proud to have brought into the world. And now, 5 years later, we find it so cool to see TAG Heuer is bringing back the Skipper once more, in its new glass box design. This is the 39mm TAG Heuer Skipper. Being out on the water in Newport with this watch was quite an experience because it's taking where this watch comes from and bringing it home. On this watch, you have all the hallmarks of the Skipper design, and that means color. The dial is a dark blue. On the left-hand 9 o'clock subdial, you have that iconic blue coloring taken from the deck of the Intrepid. And, unlike vintage iterations of this watch, the word Skipper is etched into the dial right under the numbers 8 and 4. At 3 o'clock, you have that iconic tricolor register with the orange, green, and blue. And, much like we saw on the blue glass box released at Watches and Wonders, you have the small second subdial with alternating orange and white markings. Of course, being out on the original Intrepid with a new variation of the Skipper theme is not quite like bringing one to the other. But of course, we came prepared. Having all three in one place against the blue color of the deck of the boat really brought everything full circle. The wind blowing, the sails high, getting to captain the boat ourselves, being part of the process of making this yacht move while wearing this watch on our wrist was something to remember. Inside the TAG Heuer Skipper beats the TH20-06 automatic chronograph movement featuring 80 hours of power reserve and a 4 Hz automatic winding movement with 33 joules. Now, one thing to note on the older models, including the Hodinkee LE, is that the Skipper wordmark was usually relegated to the place where Skipperera would normally go on the dial, right above the Heuer wordmark. On this new model, TAG has seen fit to put Skipperera where it's always been, and move Skipper to the sub-register. This may be a divisive design choice for some, but at the end of the day, it adds consistency to the broader collection and lets the wearer know exactly what makes this watch special. Of course, being on this boat and using this watch for sailing is something that most people just won't do. At the end of the day, it's a vintage-inspired chronograph, and it's a great option for anyone looking for an everyday watch with serious history. Riding on the Intrepid and wearing the TAG Heuer Skipper reminds us of the past. But with the new design TAG Heuer has created for its chronograph line, it also points to the future and the marriage of the two. Now, if you'll excuse us, We have some sailing to do.